What up? I'm Mike,
I'm Josh.
and this is the 1432 podcast.
Yeah, and in this conversation, and this is gonna be in a brief, impromptu conversation about emotions. Because it was sparked by a couple conversations we was having, but we thought it'd be super relevant to have this conversation now. And so yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it.
Yeah, like you said, just want to jump in and start talking about emotions, Black men's emotions specifically, right? We want to talk about why is it so hard for men, especially us as Black men, to talk about emotions openly. And so, like I said, we're gonna jump straight in with the first question, and it was basically growing up. What messages did you receive about what it means to be a man and show your emotions?
Mm. So it's very funny about this because I think for me, um, growing up, I think it was pretty much stated that like you gotta hurry up and get over it, right? Like if you feel a certain type of way, or you know what I'm saying, get over it, act like it never happened and move on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, it was always to deflect, I guess. Deflect it. Don't you ain't feel that. You ain't worried about that. That's petty. Man, move on, dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. To
but what about you?
yeah, to echo that, I mean, I think I go back to being young, playing sports, right?
Mhm.
Kind of same thing you said, getting hurt or frustrated and pissed off, and they tell you to dust it off, get back up. And there was never ever a conversation of why. It was just keep getting up, keep going, keep getting up, keep
Mhm.
going. And
Mhm.
even in the house, right? I mean, you get in trouble, you get mad, you get frustrated, you get pissed off or whatever. And there's never been a conversation to sit down and say, hey, it's okay to be angry. Or when you get angry, you got to learn to control yourself. Or,
Mhm.
you know, sometimes you will cry. Sometimes stuff hurts where you got to cry, and it's okay. It's
Yeah.
always been suck it up,
Yeah.
keep going. And I think that created the standard and the whole thought process of, oh, like I'm not supposed to do this as
Correct.
a young man at that time, and then going around other men and seeing them constantly angry or yelling or frustrated, and that's the only thing that they know how to do. Right? They
Yeah.
never sat down and had conversations and talked things out.
Mhm.
Actually, I've never seen any men sit down and have conversations and talk things out.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, again, being impressionable as a kid, I think that, you kind of pick up your world and your beliefs and everything by your surroundings. And if that's what you see, that's what you start to believe.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is very interesting because I mean, I even think about, you know, when you're growing up, and let's just say, for instance, you run and you scab your knee on the ground, right? Hey, get up. Even though your whole knee just been split open,
right.
get up. You good? You all right? Brush that off. Brush that off. And in the meantime, you looking down at your knee, and you
That's
like, this don't
blood.
look right. Right? It's blood
Right.
everywhere.
It's blood.
How am I supposed to? How am I supposed to like brush this off? Like I can't even. It's blood coming out my knee, right?
Right.
So I think about that. I think about the times where you like, you might fall, you might hit your head. Brush that off. You good? You all good? You good? You good? And a lot of times, the physical, how we're taught to treat our physical ailments is literally how we're taught to treat our emotional ailments too. And it's the same way, right? Like, get over it
Hmm.
real quick. Don't worry about it. Keep moving. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. And sometimes, and the reality is, it ain't gonna be all right.
It's not. It's not.
You know.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. I just think, again, like, maybe that conversation was never had with them, or that everybody kind of do what they learned.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
back then they learned, oh well, you get up, you keep going. Or you seen your friend fall, hurt himself, or whatever. He got up and kept going. And it's like, oh man, he's strong. Oh, he tough. And it's like, I think that mentality is where we, ingrain ourselves in that mentality of like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to be good. If I get hurt, I'm supposed to be okay with being hurt. And actually, it may be a badge of honor of being hurt. It's like, No, not really. But
No,
you
not
know,
really.
how do we how do we progress from that? And I think that is again it's good now that we're having this conversation and we able to have this dialogue and get it out there to let not just men know now, but um, everybody know. It's like, hey, you don't, you got emotions. It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be distraught or frustrated or angered and all these other things.
Mhm.
Um, but I want to move to this this next question. It says, do you think we confuse strength with silence? And if so, why?
I mean, I think we do. And here's the reason. Here's my thought process, right? I think as growing up as men, I think we are taught the stigma of you got to be stoic, you got to be the rock of your family, right? And so when stuff is going awry, you know what I'm saying, no matter how you feel, you can't express it, right?
Right.
You could be on the brink of financial collapse, right? But you can't show your emotions, right? You know, but when I think about this too, like I think about the next question, right? The next question is how has media, sports, or even hip hop culture shaped the way black men view emotional expression, right? And so when I think
Mm,
about that, um, it's very interesting because now that I now that I see men express themselves online, a lot of times it's in the crash out form, right? Like it's, I think about people like Tyrese, right? I think about people, I think about Will Smith at the Red Table Talk, right? These emotions that men have are actually very, very healthy. Do they need to touch the internet? No, right?
right.
But the fact that men are emoting, because I think again, we have this view of being stoic, being silent, as a form of our strength, right? But a lot of us we are struggling on the inside, right? And so, um, especially when hip hop comes to that, hip hop and even media and sports backs that up even more, right?
Hmm.
It show when I think about quarterbacks, right? And I'm gonna use this as a good example. When I think about quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks have to be very, very stoic in the pocket, right? You have to be confident. You cannot, you can't show that you're scared. You can't do all this other stuff because you're a leader of men, right? And so I think about how that is backed up in society. A lot of us cannot show these emotions. We have to be cool in the pocket, right? If it and metaphorically, right? In a 2 minute drill, we got to be able to hold stuff down. When they get really, really serious, we got to be able to hold it down,
Yeah.
right? And so now I think more than ever, when we're seeing people crash out and working through things, I think the thought process of black men emoting is helping, but just not in the public view.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you
Um,
think?
so I think that I'll go back to what hip hop portrayed it as in the beginning, right?
Mhm,
Um, because after a while, I think the narrative changed with how it was shown. So I always go think about how impactful Tupac was and what he exhibited throughout his, career and the impact that he made on everybody. And to this day, people still bump Tupac.
mhm,
And so it was like rap, and it was gangster rap, and then you had to be hard, you had to be tough, and it had to be about talking about women or drugs or drinking and things like that. And so that was the portrayal of what we saw and what we thought it was supposed to be. You had to be tough, you had to be hard,
mhm.
and that's not necessarily the case, right?
Yeah.
Because you think everybody, oh, I gotta be a rapper, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and it's like no. But then you got sports. It's like cool. I gotta be sports. I gotta go. I gotta be hard. I gotta be tough. I gotta be strong. I gotta do all this. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you still get tired. You still
Absolutely.
get frustrated. You
Mhm,
still get overwhelmed. You
mhm,
still got stuff that you got to take care of that you're struggling with.
mhm,
How do you express that? And what we've learned over the years in having these conversations is that people didn't do that. So they have these. hardcore exteriors and exteriors that shows it's like I'm a brick wall no matter what,
Hmm.
and it's not healthy. Not
No.
only with you know sports or athletes and rappers and things like that, but you go back to just the everyday working man. Like if I have to work and provide for my family, I don't have time for emotions. I got to go to work. I don't have time to be tired. I got to go to work. I don't have the time to play with my kids. I got to go to work. you know,
Yeah.
I can't spend as much time with my wife because I have to go to work. And that's what
Mhm.
society had, well, we know what the past had basically pushed us to do.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not going to work and providing for your family, then they ripped you from the family. And that's a whole nother, rabbit hole we can get down later. However,
Absolutely.
I think the thing that's missing with that, with all of those things, is that the relationships that get messed up, the impact that it has on the kids.
Mhm.
Oh, my father was a provider, but he didn't tell me he loved
Mm. Yeah.
me. My husband's at work, but we don't spend no time together. But he doesn't
Mm.
see me.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
he does see me, he's either tired or frustrated and don't have time to deal with me and the kids and things like that. And so as a society, we just develop that mindset. Be
Mhm.
hard, take care of your business, and keep going.
Yeah.
And now that we're getting older, we're realizing that it's no longer sustainable because everybody's working now. And
Absolutely.
it takes a village, not just your two parents, but it takes a village to raise kids.
It
It,
does. A- And I want to chime in too, because I think like one of the things that you have mentioned is that it kind of gets handed down from generation to generation, and it is the emotional what is it? The emotional neglect, right? Emotional neglect teaches emotional neglect, right? And we can't afford to continue to keep that cycle going.
right.
Um, you know what I'm saying? Like you think about the dads and you think about our uncles, you think about, and even, some of our brothers and cousins, right? The emotional neglect comes out in other ways, right? You may see um my uncle, I mean, you may see my uncles or like somebody else drinking a lot, right? Because the emotional
Mm,
neglect has been there for so long. Well, what
yep.
do you do then? What do I do with these emotions that I'm neglecting? Obviously, it feels heavy. I don't know what feels heavy, but liquor feels good. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And so, um or getting high feels good, right? You know what I'm saying? And so um it is one of those situations where we can no longer afford to um neglect ourselves emotionally by not paying attention to our emotions or just getting over them, or and really shut them down, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
um
Yeah. It's crazy because all of this led into that next question uh, of talking about relationships and the unspoken emotions showing up in friendships, relationships, and families.
mhm,
Like, I think that it goes and will go down the path that you just brought up, right? The neglect leads to different vices. So you
mhm,
got drugs, you got alcohol, you got sex
mhm,
addictions, you got, all these things that you end up coming up with, all because you're trying to hide your emotions and you're trying to cope with your reality.
yeah,
But in reality, there are ways to do that without having to go to these vices.
correct.
And I think that it's imperative that we now start to talk to each other. We start to vent. We create our circles, and we let that stuff out because
Mhm,
but I personally believe we've come too far to
mhm,
continue the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again. Especially when
absolutely.
it comes to relationships, starting with the families, right?
Mhm,
I mean, we got all these family secrets. You and your family beef, and you can't talk to them because when you talk to them, they want to argue or they want to belittle you and bringing up
mhm,
stuff from the past, and
mhm,
just kind of constantly poking you. And so, at some point, people decide to say, "Okay, I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't want to deal with you no more," and you
mhm.
just move on. But
Yeah.
is that healthy? I mean, what does that look like for the person who's dealing with all of that frustration?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It it's very interesting because you said what does it look like for the person that's dealing with all that frustration? And I think it's a tough question to ask. And I want to make sure because I want to continue on that same vein. So the last thing you said was what role, no, what places that person have that's frustrated with this, right?
Yeah,
Man, usually I would have an answer, and I feel like I have to think on
I got you stumped. It's a win for me.
that. Because there's so many ways in which these things need to be handled, and uh so I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay, well, I'll make it a little personal for me, and then I'll give what I've done in that situation, right? Um, with certain family members, I've been the one to try to make things work.
Mhm,
I've tried to build a relationship. I've
mhm,
tried to communicate. I've tried to figure out what the dynamic was going to be. I tried to mitigate situations before they happened.
mhm,
When I had an issue, I tried to go and talk and work things out.
mhm.
And I had to realize on my own, realistically, because I would vent to other people, say, "Yeah, I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to do this. I'm literally doing these things, and it's
Mhm.
not working." And I had to realize, people who want you in their lives will make the time and effort.
They will. They will.
And the thing that I have to realize is that it's no longer up to me in these situations.
Mhm.
I've done my part. If nobody else wants to, engage in what I'm bringing to the table, then let them not engage. It's okay.
Absolutely.
No love lost, no, ill will, but it's like, hey, I now have to live on and live my life and take care of my family and let them do that
Absolutely.
with themselves.
Absolutely. And that reminds me of like when as men, we do have to have boundaries too, right? Like boundaries matter, right? Because if we don't, we're gonna try to get in, we're gonna try to fix all these emotions and the reality or these situations. And the reality is we can't fix people that don't want to be fixed,
You can't.
right?
You can't.
Um, that's too much of a heavy burden. It's too much of a heavy burden, man. Um, but I want to go back to this too. The question at hand: how do unspoken emotions show up in our friendships, relationships, and families? Right. I had to think about this, and I had it on the top of my mind. So the first thing I thought about was what messed me up, because it messes me up all the time. Right. I have therapist friends, and even I talk about this in therapy. But what does the action serve? Right. Like I when I say that, it may not make sense right now. But when I think about unspoken emotions, and you talked about vices, right? Um, when I think about alcohol, right? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna say this. When I think about sex, right? I think about sex, for my hypersexual people. Sometimes I think about it. I ask the question of like, what is the purpose of sex in this moment for you? What need is this meeting, right?
Hmm.
Is this purely a sexual need? Or do we feel depressed and we need to feel good chemicals, right?
Hmm.
Do we feel lonely, right? um did we really have a bad day? Like what is this doing for you? And I think about that, like, because and this is the reason why unspoken emotions can be really damaging, especially for your romantic relationships, because when I think about it in terms of sex, if we're not having sex to be having sex for the closeness of the relationship, now we're using things improperly, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think about it when it comes to drinking, right? Okay, we're out drinking, we're having a good time. You may be out having a good time. But wait, are we drinking to have a good time? Are we drinking to unwind? Are we drinking because we know that are we drinking to not feel, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know, because emotions are very powerful, right? And sometimes when we are not speaking about them, we're trying to avoid them. We have to use other things to to temper them, right? Like we have to use other things to make sure that they don't come back up, which in reality they do come back up, right? You can only
Right.
avoid so long. I think of them like the iceberg in Titanic, right? A lot of emotions end up um they sink down like the iceberg, right? And then they come right back up, right? And when it sink down, it can be for a week, it can be for 2 weeks, it can be for 4 months, it can be for 6 years, but then all of a sudden it's back up to the surface, and you're like, where'd that come from?
Right. I thought I got rid of that.
I thought I got rid of that. And so I think unspoken emotions can do a lot of damages in your relationship and in your life, and right. And I think the other part of it is when you don't talk about emotions, they can cause a lot of um they can cause a lot of what is the word I'm looking for? They can cause a lot of they can cause you to be angry, a lot of anger, right?
Hmm.
Um, because I was listening to something today where they talked about how a trespass in a relationship or an offense in a relationship is normal, right? Somebody's gonna break your trust, somebody's gonna hurt your feelings. Like that's how it works in romantic relationships. But the reality is are you working through those things? If you don't talk
Right.
about it, it can cause resent. That's the word I was looking for. It can cause
Right.
resentment. Um, and once resentment settles in, it's a lot tougher to work through the resentment than it is to work through the actual emotions at the top before they become resentment, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, man. I think that you telling the truth. It definitely causes resentment, especially if you don't work through those emotions through that time period.
Mhm,
And instead of like you said, just pushing them further down in the ocean because eventually they'll come back up. And
mhm,
you know, it's kind of like the saying, "What goes around comes around." Stuff don't always just leave. You have to address it at some point, at some time, which is always the harder part,
absolutely.
but it has to be done. So moving along those lines, talking about relationships and things. Another question that was posed was, do we fear judgment more from men or from women when showing emotions? And I think that I guess it just depends on the person and the situation.
Mhm,
Um, I will say men aren't usually vulnerable or show much emotions around women, right?
absolutely.
Unless they feel like they're safe or they
Mhm,
feel like they have that space to be emotional or express themselves freely,
mhm,
which we would like to be all the time, but we know truthfully it doesn't happen like that. And then
yes.
even with men, I think we actually are probably a little bit better now to express ourselves in
Mhm,
front of our boys or maybe a mentor or a brother, a friend, a cousin, or something like that,
mhm,
versus like they did before back in the day. Because back in the day, like you said earlier in the conversation, it was, "I'll get up, you'll be all right. Oh man, she broke my heart. Man, you'll be all right. Go get another one." Stuff like that.
mhm,
But now the narrative has changed so much where it's like, no, hey, I need to talk to my brother. Hey, I
mhm,
need to talk to my uncle. Hey, I need to talk to my cousin, my grandfather, my uncle, because we're now in a space where uh, we got to have each other. Because in some cases, men don't feel like their spouse, significant other, partner, whatever, gives them that space to truly say what's on their mind.
mhm.
So I think from my perspective, right now, I think we judge the we feel the judgment more from women than we do from men.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that?
Um, so I think about this from a trauma perspective. Um, I am curious if we feel the most judgment from the person who has hurt us the most in this area.
Mm,
Right. Um, so for me, it's kind of tough, right? Because I can see both sides, but I guess it depends on what space you're in, right? I would say in my teens, um, I felt the most judgment from other men, right? Um, but as I began to date heavily, right? I felt the most judgment from women. So like it just really depends. And I would say now I feel like I'm in a better space. Ah man, that's tough actually. Um
Yeah, that's why I said it just kind of depends on the situation and what's going on, right?
yeah,
Because like you said, when you're dating, of course you're gonna feel more judgment from based off of what your partner or whoever you dating is saying. Well, maybe you do this, or why you act this way, or why don't you do this? I think most of us question things we don't know anyway, but
right.
you get that more judgment. And then I guess with just with men, if you're doing something that they do all the time, it's like, well, why are you doing it that way? It's like, well, this is either how I learned to do it or how my brain is processing for me to do it.
Correct.
And if I'm doing it wrong and you know a better way, show me versus just questioning me and trying to demean me in this moment because you know something different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, to your point, like I said, I think it isn't a one answer type of question, but it's something to ponder on and figure out what situation can you work through or which one that you're in. Like, are you feeling judged here? Are you feeling judged there?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing is like too, getting around people in which I mean, well, first coming to yourself of coming into yourself of this is who I am, right? Um, because once you fully accept who you are, you care less about being judged, right?
Right.
Um, but then on top of that, making sure once you come into fully of your, you come into who you are and you truly accept who you are for who you are, you get in touch with people who gonna back that up, right? Who you can show
Absolutely.
your true self into, I mean, in front of, and they won't judge you. And yeah, and just maintaining those relationships. Like, I think that's the most important thing. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah. Because
so yeah.
again, that's the main thing is being around people who you can trust, you can be vulnerable with, you can talk with, and not feel that judgment.
Yeah.
As friends and family members, whomever, I think as we all go on this journey called life, we find our people, and when you
Yeah.
find your people, you become very protective of those people. And
Absolutely.
ironically, those people be or become very protective of you and how you think and how you feel. And so I think that that's the best way that we can create our spaces to feel safe.
Absolutely. Now let me now you brought up something, and then this is gonna be a good transition.
Mm.
So, what roles can your brothers, friends, and partners play in helping us create a safe spaces to talk? What do you think?
I think that for me, the one thing that I try to present with all my friends and be is honest.
Mm,
And I don't try. I hold them accountable just as much as I want them to hold me accountable.
mhm,
And I think me leading with love and honesty gives them the freedom to be who they are with me no matter what.
mhm. Yeah.
And in turn, they know that I'm going to be honest
Mhm.
and I want you to lean on me when you need to. And I'm going to give you constructive criticism and I'm going to judge you in love.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, that word judge, right? Because some
Mhm,
people take judgment out of context, or everybody has their own definition of it. Let's say that.
mhm,
For
mhm.
me, I think that if I judge you, that means I love you. And I
Absolutely.
know I want better for you, or I know you can do better,
Mhm.
or you just may be having a misstep at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And if I'm asking you, hey, do you think this is something that's going to be productive to what you're doing?
Mhm.
Or are you hindering yourself?
Absolutely.
I'm judging you because I love you and I want the best for you. So
Yeah.
I think that to sum that up, like once you find your people, be honest with your people, hold your
Mhm,
people accountable, and in return, when they're being honest with you and holding you accountable, be receptive to it.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with that. I'm with that. That's good. That's good. Yeah, and I would say my because I want to say this too, and I'm gonna finish my answer. Then So I think, like, when it comes to judgment, judgment is just an evaluation of your thoughts towards a situation, right? So there can
Hmm.
be good judgments, there can be bad judgments, right? And I think
Right.
that both are valuable in your relationships. It just depends on how you use them. Um, so and so when I think about what role can brothers, friends, and partners play in helping us create safe spaces to talk, um, I think the role we can play is just being sometimes just a listening ear, right? Um, if you ever hear me talk about, if you're one of my brothers, and Mike can contest to this too. One of the things I always say is be a listening ear and really don't offer advice.
Yeah.
Sit in the room, don't say nothing, right? Because a lot of times people don't need advice. They may ask for it. They may give it, if they ask for it, they ask for it. But sometimes people may not need advice. People just may need your listening ear, right? They just need you to be there in the moment, um, giving you the nonverbals, doing the
Hmm.
nonverbals and doing the yeah, 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 like agreeing with them, nodding them on, and doing all this other stuff. People need that, especially when they're talking about the emotions they feel, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. People need that. So I think that's the role
For
that us
sure.
brothers and friends and partners can play in helping us create a safe space. Um, because a lot of us didn't grow up with that. We grew up with the if you even show any type of emotions, I'm going to be combative, right?
Yep.
Or I'm going to, act like your emotions don't exist. I'm going to invalidate your emotions immediately, right? And that's what led to some of the trauma that we're going through, right? People have invalidated
Absolutely.
us for so long that we haven't we haven't had to, we haven't had a thought without we haven't had a straight thought without it being fought. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Hmm.
um, yeah, no, really just being a listening ear for your brothers, man. I think that's gonna be important for us to create safe spaces to talk. So
For sure. For sure. So we narrowing towards the end. So let's do kind of a self-reflection slash recap slash how we heal and grow, right? So I'll
mhm.
ask you, um, what have you learned about yourself when you actually express your emotions?
um I think for me the one thing I have learned about myself is that I am very, very vigilant about the little things, right?
Mm,
I'm very, very sensitive to little things and how situations show up, right? And so when I express my emotions, I can recall a lot. Um, and I have to take that into account when I'm expressing my emotions. And how I can be very, very sensitive to these things, right? But I think the other part of it is, when it comes to me expressing my emotions, just because I express my emotions doesn't mean I'm necessarily right about the situation, right? Just because I feel the anxiety or I feel the anger doesn't necessarily mean that I'm necessarily right, if that
mm,
makes sense. Like, I'm right to
yeah,
feel, but I may have not acted right in my anger
very
or
much
my
so.
anxiety and in my emotions. So um that's just about me. What about you?
Um, I've learned that when I'm vulnerable and I actually express myself, there, like you said, two things can be true, right? I am it, all in my right to be emotional,
Hmm.
and sometimes I may not be right,
Hmm.
uh, and sometimes I need to rethink everything. But I'm also one of those people who kind of thinks about everything before I act
Hmm.
or react to anything.
Yeah.
So before things happen, before things are said, I'm already 3 steps ahead of thinking, okay, well, if this happened, then I'm not going to do this. Or if this happens, I'm going to say this. Or if I get pushed to this button, then I'm going to react this way and vice versa or whatever. But when I'm able to sit down and have a real conversation about my emotions, it's usually either shocking to people or very progressive
Hmm.
or more importantly, I get people attention.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And because I have just a personality where I'm always positive. I'm always just looking forward to what's next. You know, the glass is always half empty or half full. It's more so half full than it is half empty. But I'm
Mhm.
always like that. And so when I truly tell you people how I think, it's like, oh, I didn't know you thought like that. I was like, yeah. I was like, because I'm human,
Yeah,
you know, I have thoughts too. But
absolutely.
I'm also very conscious of what I put out in the
Mhm,
world. I won't put out negative energy and negative thoughts when I want positive vibes and positive things to happen.
mhm,
And so sharing my emotions, I believe that it's usually a great story to tell.
mhm.
And a lot of times, what I found has created this environment for me to find my purpose is that a lot of people are going through the same things. And I'm able to
Yeah.
have these conversations with you and with this podcast and people I work with, people on the street, and whoever I meet, because
Mhm.
I'm able to be myself and talk about what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, man, it's been eye opening. It's been a breath of fresh air, honestly,
Mhm.
because I don't have to hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm actually getting older and being unk status anyway, because I feel like I get long winded now. So
Same. Same, bro.
it's like I
Same.
always got something to say or a story to tell. So,
Yeah.
but I realize it helps people, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm about.
Yeah, for
That's what I'm
sure.
about.
For sure.
So ask this question, which should probably be the last big question.
Okay.
What practices like journaling, prayer, therapy, meditation, working out, etc., helps you process emotions in a healthy way?
So I think for me, obviously, journaling, not journaling, well, verbal journaling, really. Um, and then therapy has been a beautiful thing, man. Man, I love my therapist. I'm not gonna say her name, but she keep me on my P's and Q's, and so, and she also is not scared to just tell me like, now you know that ain't right. You know what you did ain't right,
Hmm.
and I'd be like, you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Um, Even in the midst of me being highly emotional, she can get me together. And then like even prayer, like I think prayer is super important. Because outside of my therapist, talking to God is a very very healthy thing, man. And um, especially the Holy Spirit is always here for correction, right? Even in the midst of me
Hmm.
being like, well, I'm
Hmm.
right about this, I'm right about that, and in the meantime, like the Holy Spirit, like, are we? Are
Mm-mm.
we right?
Think about that. You
Right.
sure
Let's
about that,
let's think
buddy?
about this for 2 seconds. Are we correct?
Right.
Um, and so, especially because I can be really raw. So, like, I don't have to hold anything back in how I'm talking. Like, I don't have to be politically correct. I can say what I need to say and get it fully out. So, I think that these practices, man, especially when I do some journaling, and especially like when I go skating, right? A lot of people don't talk about that, but like skating to me is a meditation practice, right? Just being out there, being super expressive, even if that means like in my movements or like if I'm skating really hard or if like I'm singing while I'm skating. Like it's all these things are they are very, very therapeutic and they help me process my emotions too. Cause I am a kinetic processor. So like I have to be moving the process, right? Whether that means like I'm walking down the street, I'm walking around the corner, like I have to be in movement while I'm processing with my mind about my emotions. So
Absolutely.
yeah. What about you though?
Absolutely. Man, the biggest thing is I pray every day.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's a little prayer, sometimes a big prayer, but I pray every day. So
Hmm.
that's the main thing. And that usually that I start my day off by praying. And
Hmm.
so the second biggest thing that I do is go to the gym, working out.
Yeah.
And though I'm doing a bunch of stuff like core and weights and stuff like that, I always end my workout on the basketball court.
Hmm.
And this shooting free throws, doing drills, just clearing my mind. I'm able to think about any and everything in peace because I go, as you know, 5:30 in the morning.
You do. You
But
do. Faithfully. 5:30 in the
yeah,
morning. Faithfully.
but I mean that gives me the opportunity to sit with myself
Yeah.
and be real with myself and go over what I got going on today, what happened yesterday. Think
Yeah.
about the situations going on in my personal life, outside of my realm, but it's still in the space that I'm in.
Mhm.
Being able to reflect and just sort those things out. And I think we as men have a bunch of boxes that we put things in. I'm able to
Mhm.
put those toys up, metaphorically put those toys up in the boxes. I'm like, all right, I get to that later. This goes in this
Yes.
box. This goes here.
Yes.
Um, and then just started doing um, yoga recently.
Oh
Yoga with the
yeah.
bros.
Yeah.
That's been very good and therapeutic.
Yeah.
Having conversations in spaces with men who are again all going through the same thing in some
Mhm.
instances. And
Mhm.
so once we get to share and kind of bounce ideas and everything off each other, like man, this you get that uplifting feelings like, hey, I'm doing something right, or I'm in a space where this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, and then even going to therapy, like this is my next task is to get back into therapy so I can get that guidance that I need. Because I
Yeah.
can't sit here and say that I'm assisting and helping people get to where they want to be if I'm not doing the same for myself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So just trying to be
Ab-
healthy altogether.
Hey man, I get it. It's we are mind, body, and soul, so you gotta take care of all of them. Makes
For
sense.
sure. For sure. So yeah, let's close this out. So these is like some quick hitters, like 1 or 2 sentences. We're gonna answer both of these. I'll
Okay.
let you answer the first one, and then we'll go to the second one. So, what's one piece of advice that you'd give another brother struggling to express how he feels?
Um, I can't do it in one sentence. I want to so bad.
I
Okay.
know, but that's the challenge.
Okay. So what's one? Okay. Find a trusted person and speak to them. Yes.
Okay,
I think
okay,
because my second one was go to therapy, but I wasn't
that's
gonna
okay.
say that.
But you said it, so it's cool. I mean, same difference. We know you was going with it.
Yeah.
That's
What
cool.
about you?
When struggling, believe in what you truly feel and
Mhm.
express how you feel.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with that. With that. Okay. So the second one, how do we as men create a new blueprint for the next generation when it comes to emotional expression?
Am I gonna make this 1 or 2 sentences? It's gonna be 2 parts. It's not gonna be.
It- yeah.
The first thing that we have to do is create a space where we can express ourselves, humanize ourselves, and let our brothers know that it's okay to not be okay.
Okay. I'm with
We
that.
do that by finding resources,
Hmm.
finding our people,
Hmm.
and listening to the 1432 podcast.
Plug, 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 plug. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. What about you?
All right. So, yes, I think the first thing I want to say is listen to the 1432 podcast. Uh,
Absolutely.
um, I also think that we got to start early with kids and using things such as the
Mm,
emotional wheel
there you go. Yes, sir.
to educate. And I think educating early is going to lead to better outcomes later down the line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, again, this was good, brother. Again, needed and necessary conversations about emotions and quick session that's needed. And I appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I'm pretty sure that you gained a lot from this conversation as well. And I hope that our
Oh, yeah.
audience is definitely going to gain something from this too.
Oh, yeah. Now listen, when y'all listen, when y'all listen to this, the only thing I want y'all to do, I just want y'all to write some notes, take some notes, making sure that making sure that y'all take notes on what we saying. You know what I'm saying? This is experience. This ain't we are not. we are not the experts as we would like to say, but we have a lot of experience to offer, and I think that for us black men in our mid 30s, right? Because I can officially say that now, which is weird. Um, um, it is taking a lot of it's taking a lot of us bumping our heads in this area to recognize what we're supposed to be doing correctly, or what we can do correctly. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, man. I think the most important part that I want viewers and to take away is that we are all in this journey together.
we are.
We are all in this journey together. Find
Yeah,
your people and y'all figure it out and know that y'all not alone. That you're in this journey with us while we on our journey with this podcast, when we in this journey with our personal lives, and when in this journey with us pouring out this information that we have. Like I
yeah,
said, we're not experts, but again, we got some experience and we just want to give it to the world.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, on that note, my brother Josh, I appreciate you.
Hey, no problem.
And this is a 1432 podcast. We signing out. I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh, and we out this
Peace.